Hey there, and welcome to Graphing Absolute Value Functions, Lesson 107. So we're going to graph absolute values, and then we are going to transform it in a variety of ways. Fair amount of notes here, so go ahead and hit pause. When you're done with that page, play again. All right, there's the rest of the notes. Okay, so absolute value parent function f of x equals the absolute value of x. It gives us a v with a slope of -1 to the left and a slope of +1 to the right. The axis of symmetry is going to be along the y-axis, and the vertex is going to be right at the origin. It is V-shaped, so they make straight lines. It is not curves like the quadratics. It is symmetric, left and right should match, and it is infinite. It should have arrows at the end. If a is 1, and we'll talk about that formula in just a second, then the slope to the left of the vertex is going to be -1, and to the right of the vertex is going to be +1. Now let's take a look at this formula here. So the formula has lots of parts to it. So first of all, f of x is just a function. Think of it like the y variable. A is the coefficient out front. If a has a value, what that's going to do is tell you the direction and the slope. So let's start with that. So if you have a negative a, that's going to flip it upside down. Okay. All right. So it's going to open down. If you have a positive a, it's going to open up. So you may want to add that, I guess. Oops. Oh, that works. Okay. A positive a would open upwards. The next thing is the x value. That's just our x coordinate. And then plus or minus h. That brings us to the translating left or right. So this is a little counterintuitive. A positive h is going to move it to the left, and a negative h is going to move it to the right. So you just got to keep in mind that those are going to be backwards. And then you're going to add or subtract a k. K is what shifts it up and down. So if you have a positive k, it moves it up, and if you have a negative k, it moves it down. Then the last thing is we can dilate, and that's that a value again. So if we have multiples of a, like 2 or 3 or 9.4 or whatever, then that's going to get narrower and narrower. If it's a fraction or you're dividing a division of a, you're going to get wider and wider. Okay, so that's just like the quadratics that we did before. So you don't need to copy these unless you really want to, but just look at them. So this first one, what I did in the first line is I gave you all the parts. So I said f of x is equal to a, which is going to be a +1. It's going to open up, have a slope of 1 on either side, times the absolute value of x plus or minus 0. So it's not going to shift left or right at all, plus k. But our k is going to be a +3, so it moved up 3. Right? On this one, we are looking at f of x equals +1. So it's going to have the same slope left and right, and it's going to open upwards. X plus or minus 0, so it's going to be right along the y value. But this time we moved it down 3, -3. We changed the k. Look at this next one. Okay, so +1. So it's going to open up, slopes of 1 and 1. And then it's the absolute value of x plus 3. So a +3, the absolute value of an x plus 3 shifts it left. Okay? And then I didn't move it up or down at all, so there is no k value. Look at this one. This is a -3. X minus 3 is going to shift it to the right. And then no k, I didn't move it up or down, and it's a +1 for the a. So it is a slope of 1 and 1 opening upwards. Now this one has the -1 in there for the a. So we would just write this as f of x equals negative absolute value of x. And what I would do is every time I got a value, it would become negative. So this just flips over, right? And then we're going to compress and stretch. So if we compress and stretch horizontally, if we squash it or extend it, like a +2, that a is a multiple and it's going to compress it, or a 1/2. That a value is a fraction, so it's going to get wider, right? So let's look at a few. In this first one, we have f of x equals the absolute value of x minus 4. So we know that the slope is going to be a -1 coming to the vertex and then a +1 going off the vertex. We know it's going to open up. And we know that the whole thing is going to get shifted down 4. So we actually can graph this without doing the XY table, but let's go ahead and do that. So if I had -6, the absolute value of -6 is 6, minus 4 is 2. The absolute value of -3 is 3, minus 4 is -1. The absolute value of 0 is 0, minus 4 is -4. The absolute value of 3 is 3, minus 4 is -1, and the absolute value of 6 is 6, minus 4 is 2. So if we're to graph this, let's go ahead and go -6, +2. There it is. -3, +1. Oops, did I do that right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, that looks weird, but oh, -1. That's why it looked super weird. 0, -4, 3, -1, and 6, 2. So what you notice is that I still have the slope of up 1 over 1 each time. So I'm going to, so up 1 over 1, up 1 over 1, up 1 over 1, all the way up and through there. Okay. So what I want you to do is the vertex is going to be 0, -4. Okay, there's my vertex. And sketch the graph. So it's going to intersect there, and it's a nice 1-to-1 ratio in the slope. All right. Let's take a look at this one. No table here. Let's just look at what's happening. So the slope is going to be a 1-to-1 slope, but I'm going to shift this a +2. So a +2 is going to shift back 2. So no up or down shift. My vertex is going to be a -2, 0. I am just moving it to the left, and then it's going to be up 1 over 1, up 1 over 1, and so on, and up 1, back 1. So my sketch is going to have a vertex here and a nice 45-degree angle coming off that vertex. All right. Number 3. All right, our slope is a 1, 1. We have a shift of a -4. That'll be a shift to the right. And we have a shift of +1 up. So we're going to shift a -4, which is a +4 to the right. And we're going to shift up 1. There's my vertex. So 4, 1. Then from there, we know that the slope is a 1, 1 slope. So it's going to follow that. Okay, so if I'm going to sketch that graph, I'm going to come over 4 and up 1, and then nice 45-degree angles coming off of that. All right, let's take a look at this. So now we have a different slope. We have a slope of 2. So coming in, it's going to be a -2 over 1. So it's going to be steep. And going off out of the vertex, it's going to be also steep at a +2 over 1, right? And we're shifting the whole thing at a -3, so -3 down. So we are going to start at a -3, and instead of going up 1 over 1, we're going up 2 over 1, up 2 over 1, up 2, back 1, up 2, back 1, and we get a much narrower absolute value graph. So the vertex, oh, I don't know why I didn't put that on there. The vertex is going to be 0, -3, and my graph is going to look, it's going to start at -3, but it is going to be much skinnier than 45 degrees. Okay. All right. And actually, I didn't even mention this, but really, if these are each 45 degrees, this should be a right triangle, right? So this should be a right triangle. Or I'm sorry, a right angle, not a triangle, a right angle if they're each 45 degrees. All right, let's take a look at these. So this last part doesn't even ask us to, it just says describe the graph. Okay, so this 3 is going to make it narrower. The slope is going to be 3 over 1 or -3 over 1. And this 2 is going to shift it to the right. Nope, to the left. +2 is left, so that the vertex is at 0, -2. Now you could graph that. All right, let's take a look at this one. Ooh, 2 things are happening here. Not only do we have it open down because it's negative, but we also have it much narrower with a slope of 4 over 1 or -4 over 1. And we're going to shift it up 10. Okay. All right, last one. Lots of changes here too. So first of all, it's going to open down. This is 2/10. So its slope is going to be up to over 10, up to over 10. So it is very wide. And we are going to shift it 1 to the left, right? +1 is going to shift to the left. And we're going to drop it. I'll call that a shift too. Shift it down 5. So really quickly, if you wanted to think about what that looks like. So I'm shifting down 5, left 1, and I'm making it open down and super wide, right? So that's what it'll look like. Lots of pieces there. Here's your practice. Please hit pause and give those a shot. When you're ready to look at the answers, hit play again. All right, there are your answers. Can you graph the absolute value parent function, the vertical and horizontal translations, reflections, stretches, and compressions? Please go on to take your Concept Check 107 and 20 problems from Homework 107. Bye.